Ae Rin is a humble high school student who is often bullied by her classmates. However, unknown to them, behind closed doors, she is a highly popular online influencer. At home, she dresses up, applies makeup, takes photos of herself, and then uses Photoshop to transform into a completely different person, a conventionally attractive girl with an Instagram account named Jeannie. She has many followers and receives support on Instagram, with brands sending her products and money to promote them. Yet at school, she remains friendless and is frequently bullied by a classmate named Hanul. Her only friend is Jin Song, a fellow student from a different class who is training to join an entertainment company. Due to his training, Jin Song doesn't have real friends at school. People only approach him to ask about other idols. He often retreats to the rooftop to hide, where he meets and befriends Ae Rin. Jin Song tells her she is as pretty as a famous actress, which makes her extremely happy. The next day, Jin Song invites her to lunch, but as she is about to leave, her parents stop her, saying they have plans to eat together, which Ae Rin disdainfully rejects. During her date with Jin Song, Ae Rin enjoys herself but also has another task: to counter online criticism claiming Jeannie only takes indoor photos and that all her pictures are edited, challenging her to take outdoor photos. She uses the excuse of needing to return home to says bye to Jin Song. She goes to a coffee shop, takes some photos, then goes home to edit and publish them, dismissing doubts that she is a fraud. One of her fans, particularly concerned for Jeannie, messages her to check in and suggests meeting up in real life, but Ae Rin excuses herself, claiming she has a phobia of crowds and must limit her outings. As Ae Rin is about to go to sleep, a stranger messages her, saying he saw her outside and sends a video of Ae Rin at the coffee shop. Ae Rin is terrified that someone has discovered her secret. The next day, Ae Rin wakes up after a nightmare and also receives a new message from a stranger under the account name The Cool Guy. At school, he keeps texting her, and Ae Rin feels unwell, to the point that she doesn't even care about Hanul and her friends bullying her as usual. Terrified because it seems like the cool guy knows her, she faints during PE class. Jin Song, passing by at the time, takes her to the nurse's office. Meanwhile, the homeroom teacher believes Ae Rin fainted due to Hanul's bullying and threatens to call Hanul's parents if it doesn't stop. Ae Rin becomes paranoid about the possibility of her identity being revealed. Worrying that even Jin Song would not want to be friends with her anymore, and of course, her classmates would have even more reason to ridicule her. However, things don't turn out as bad as she fears. Hanul writes an apology on a piece of paper and throws it to Ae Rin. Jin Song increasingly shows that he likes Ae Rin. But these events don't alleviate Ae Rin's worries about the cool guy knowing her secret and possibly exposing her at any moment. That week, Ae Rin dares not post any photos or updates. Her followers become very concerned, and brands urge her to post and threaten to terminate their contracts. Left with no choice, Ae Rin posts a photo, and the cool guy starts to blackmail her more intensely. He arranges to meet her at the school's lounge after hours. However, when Ae Rin waits, only Jin Song shows up. Ae Rin suspects that Jin Song is the one threatening her, but he says he just wanted to walk home with her and had been looking for her everywhere. Ae Rin tells him to leave, but Jin Song stays sitting in the schoolyard waiting for her. As Ae Rin messages the cool guy, she notices Jin Song also checking his phone. She doesn't know what to think. Jin Song seems very much like the cool guy, yet he has always been kind and cheerful towards her, making her afraid that he might be toying her. A flashback shows that Ae Rin moved to the school a few months ago and noticed Jin Song eating alone at the canteen. They then became friends on the rooftop when both went there for some fresh air. Back in the present, Ae Rin is panicked at the thought that her only friend at school might be the person who was blackmailing her. At that moment, the school guard arrives and tells her to go home. As Ae Rin walks down the corridor to leave the school, Jin Song startles her again. He insists on walking her home. Along the way, they hear a cat meowing, and Jin Song runs over to feed it, mentioning that he loves cats. Coincidentally, the cool guy account had also posted cat pictures, and Ae Rin becomes full of paranoia again, thinking Jin Song might be the cool guy. Ae Rin uses this as an excuse to run all the way home and cries out of disappointment, unable to believe that the person she secretly likes is playing games with her. Meanwhile, Ae Rin's parents are also worried about her state, especially her father. Her mother seems to be hiding something. At the same time, Ae Rin realizes that she had used the Genie account to like his pictures, and he had also followed and liked Genie's photos back. The next day on the rooftop, Jin Song tells Ae Rin about this. To confirm her suspicions, Ae Rin messages the cool guy, but Jin Sung does not react. He says his phone had been confiscated by a teacher. However, when Ae Rin returns to class, the cool guy messages her again as usual, this time demanding she wear red lipstick to school or he will expose her identity. Driven mad by this threat but having no other choice, Ae Rin complies and wears red lipstick to school the next day, quickly getting spotted and teased by Han Nul and her friends. The teacher enters the class and stops the bullying but also tells Ae Rin to wipe off the lipstick. Ae Rin even contemplates suicide but stops herself in time. That day, due to an electrical issue, classes end earlier than usual. On the bus home, Ae Rin sees that the cool guy has posted a photo on his account taken just minutes earlier as she waited for the bus, signaling to her. Ae Rin returns to the bus stop and follows the trail of photos he continuously posts. Finally, they lead Ae Rin to a house. The cool guy then sends Ae Rin a CCTV video showing her flustered in front of the house. Realizing this seems to be the house of the blackmailer, Ae Rin tries to run but it's too late. The gate suddenly slams in her face. At the same time, a young man enters, and it's not Jin Sung but someone Ae Rin never expected. Kim Ho-in, the class president of the class Ae Rin is in. It all started when Ae Rin posted a photo of herself in uniform online. Although Ae Rin quickly deleted it realizing it could lead back to her, many had already screenshotted and reposted it. Ho-in, curious, had narrowed down his search, initially thinking Han Nul seemed like the most likely person to be Genie. However, he later realized that all the designer items she was using were stolen from Ae Rin, plus when he was tasked by a teacher with confiscating students' phones during an exam. He noticed that Ae Rin's phone was receiving numerous notifications from Instagram, and at that point, he had his answer. He seems quite pleased to have caught Ae Rin off guard. Directly, Ae Rin asks Ho-in what he truly wants and kneels to beg him for mercy. However, Ho-in is quite a psychopath and simply enjoys the fact that he is now the only one who knows Ae Rin's secret. Meanwhile, Han Nul is getting ready to go on a date with Ho-in. It turns out that Han Nul is the secret loyal fan who has been talking with Ae Rin since she started the Genie account. Han Nul probably cannot imagine that the person she admires and has been talking closely with is actually the classmate she bullies every day. The next day, Ho-in takes Ae Rin to a cafe owned by an acquaintance and creates an opportunity for her to take more attractive photos. However, Ae Rin still reminds herself to be cautious around this unpredictable person. When Ae Rin shows suspicion, Ho-in removes his shirt and shows her a scar on his shoulder, saying they are not enemies. Ae Rin quickly takes out her phone and snaps a photo, wanting to hold on to something that could be Ho-in's weakness. Although they still harbor suspicions about each other, Ho-in offers to take pictures for Ae Rin and goes to buy coffee for both of them. During this process, Ho-in starts to develop feelings for Ae Rin, and this causes him to neglect his girlfriend, Han Nul. That evening, Han Nul is very upset and messages Ae Rin, blaming herself for not being pretty enough to fully capture her boyfriend's affection. Ae Rin realizes that everyone has their insecurities, even a bully like Han Nul. As Ae Rin is about to go to sleep, she receives a message from Jin Sung on the Genie account. Ae Rin replies to the message but is disappointed to see that he seems to be hitting on Genie, the pretty girl she created. All this time she thought Jin Sung liked her as Ae Rin, but it turns out he is just like everyone else. To confirm her suspicions, Ae Rin daringly flirts back with Jin Sung to see his reaction. The next day, Jin Sung calls Ae Rin and comes to her class to invite her to the rooftop, but she completely ignores him. It turns out that the night before, Ae Rin used the Genie account to tell Jin Sung to send her a seductive video if he was interested, and he actually sent one. Ae Rin does not want to watch it but can guess its content, which disappoints her further. Therefore, she ignores Jin Sung. In the evening, when she returns home from school, Jin Sung waits outside her house to ask what happened. Ae Rin says nothing and simply tells him to leave. At home, Ae Rin's mom tries to talk to her and tells her to take some vitamins, but she refuses and runs to her room. At midnight, she goes out and sees Jin Sung still waiting for her. Ae Rin mentions Genie, but Jin Sung doesn't seem to know anything about what she's saying. Ae Rin gives him some harsh words and tells him to stop acting like he likes her when he does not. Jin Sung informs her that he will soon debut and will have to leave school, and that's why he wanted to talk to her. Ae Rin is sad and uses the Genie account to message Han Nul to share her feelings. Han Nul is also sad because Ho-in is not paying attention to her and is ignoring her. The next day, Jin Sung says goodbye to his class, but they don't seem very emotional. He also leaves a gift and an early birthday card for Ae Rin on the rooftop, where they used to spend time together. Ae-rin is very sad to see Jin Som leaving the schoolyard but only cries and does not chase after him. Meanwhile, Ha-nul is completely ignored by her boyfriend Ho-en and decides to start exercising because she thinks she is being ignored for not being pretty enough. It turns out Ha-nul comes from a poor background, living with her hardworking mother. When checking Ho-en's messaging app account, she discovers that he has a new profile picture of him at the cafe where he was with Ae-rin. The next day in class, Ha-nul dreams about the truth being exposed that she lives in a poor family. She becomes increasingly self-conscious about her appearance and even wears a wig, yet Ho-en pays no attention to her. He goes to the rooftop and has a snack with Ae-rin. Ha-nul follows him and sees that they are happily playing together, which infuriates her and she uses it as an excuse to bully Ae-rin in class. She even lifts Ae-rin's skirt so that everyone can see and humiliate Ae-rin. Ae-rin goes to the restroom crying and decides to block Ha-nul from her Genie account. A flashback reveals that the reason Ae-rin transferred to the new class was to meet her loyal fan, Ha-nul. Seeing that Ha-nul likes the watch she is wearing, Ae-rin gifts it to her, and Ha-nul is very moved. That evening, Ae-rin and her parents eat at a small restaurant where Ha-nul's mother works, and Ha-nul is there helping her mother. Ha-nul worries that Ae-rin will reveal this to everyone in class, but Ae-rin assures her she will not do so and also tells Ha-nul that her current father is her stepfather. Initially, their relationship is very good. However, a friend of Ha-nul, out of jealousy, fabricates stories about Ae-rin speaking ill of Ha-nul's family background. Ha-nul came out of the bathroom, went to hit Ae-rin, and gave her back the watch while she had no clue what was going on. Back to the present, Ae-rin chooses to disable the Genie account. That evening, Ho-en takes Ha-nul out to eat. And although Ha-nul wants them to post a dating photo, he absolutely refuses. Ha-nul returns home and discovers that Genie account has been disabled. The next day, there is much speculation about why Genie disappeared, with hundreds of false rumors. Ae-rin feels that Genie is indeed a deception and even contemplates deleting the account. However, that day, an unusual event occurs. A new student is introduced to Ae-rin's class, and this person looks exactly like Genie, a complete Photoshop version of Ae-rin. Everyone in the class immediately thinks Mi-jin is Genie. The girl doesn't deny it until Ha-nul speaks up and says she isn't Genie. Until then, Mi-jin still implies that Genie's identity is a secret and that no one could know who she really is. Ae-rin realizes that even though Mi-jin is very pretty, she still has her insecurities and wants to be someone else. Mi-jin really enjoys the attention she receives and approaches Ae-rin during the break to ask her to hang out. Ae-rin sees Ho-en at his house, and they talk about how Mi-jin's behavior was weird. Ae-rin considers deleting the Genie account, but Ho-en says that will make Mi-jin become the real one. Ha-nul calls Ho-en and feels like he is with someone else. She rushes over but Ae-rin has already left. Ho-en continues acting uninterested, making Ha-nul even more insecure. After school, Ae-rin goes to a gathering with Mi-jin and some other classmates, even Seihi, who often bullies everyone with Ha-nul. Someone brings up the fact that she and Ha-nul are bullies, but Seihi subtly blames all of it on Ha-nul, saying she forced her to do it. Ha-nul feels they are being fake. At this point, Mi-jin suggests that they should let Ha-nul experience bullying. Ae-rin asks her why she would want to cause trouble for others and walks away. Mi-jin follows and says that she was also bullied at her old school. Ae-rin deliberately asks why someone as famous as she would be bullied, still hoping that Mi-jin will tell the truth and admit she is not Genie. But Mi-jin uses the excuse that she is afraid of social media and does not want people talking about her social life. At home, Ae-rin decides to reactivate her account and posts a photo from the coffee shop with Ho-en. Ha-nul is happy to see Genie active again, but she also realizes that all the products Genie posts photos of are the ones she got from Ae-rin. She also notices that the location in Genie's recent photo is the same as in Ho-en's profile picture. The next day, Ha-nul secretly pays more attention to Ae-rin, asking Genie about the photo at the coffee shop and requesting a video call. Ae-rin makes an excuse and refuses to accept the call because she is eating, but Ha-nul asks her to send a picture of the snack she is eating. Ae-rin does, but when she runs downstairs to go back to the class, Ha-nul is already waiting for her at the stairwell. She realizes the snack in Ae-rin's hand is the same one Genie sent her. A flashback of Ha-nul reveals her parents' past. Her dad fell in love with her mom at first sight when he saw her perform in a play. They soon got married, and Ha Nul's mom has always worked hard to support their family and her dad's failing business. Eventually, the business improved, but her dad betrayed her mom and left them for another woman. Meanwhile, Mi Jin takes Seihi to a hair salon and manipulates her into cutting her hair, claiming it will suit Seihi's face. Despite Seihi being disappointed with the result, Mi Jin continues to manipulate her, convincing her it was the right choice. At school, when classmates laugh at Seihi's new hairstyle, Mi Jin pretends to defend her but actually provokes more laughter. While portraying herself as kind and attractive, simultaneously, it seems Ha Nul has discovered that Ae Rin is still the genie, but she keeps this secret and messages Ae Rin about her suspicions of Mi Jin's deceit. Ha Nul asks if Ae Rin can promise never to lie to her. Ae Rin feels guilty for having lied too much to Ha Nul. After school, Ha Nul meets Hoen and asks if he knows about the genie. He lies and pretends ignorance. When Ha Nul mentions Ae Rin, Hoen claims he was just following the teacher's instructions to prevent Ha Nul from bullying Ae Rin. Ha Nul grows increasingly convinced that Ae Rin has photoshopped images of herself and is the owner of the genie account. She regrets sharing all her secrets with the genie, who is also Ae Rin. The next day, Ha Nul visits the cafe where Hoen and Ae Rin had been for a photoshoot. She talks to an employee who doesn't recognize the genie but reveals that Hoen was at the cafe that day. Meanwhile, Seihi and Mi Jin start causing trouble for Ha Nul. Secretly, Ha Nul takes pictures of Ae Rin and leaves the class, stunning everyone. Hoen finds Ha Nul's location and shows it to Ae Rin during recess. It turns out Ha Nul was heading to Ae Rin's old school. She goes there to inquire about Genie, and just then, Genie video calls her. Ha Nul is surprised to see the genie speaking to her on the screen. Hoen and Ae Rin had timely set up an augmented virtual reality for Ha Nul to see the person talking to her as Genie, although it was actually Ae Rin. This disrupts Ha Nul's suspicions about Ae Rin being Genie. However, just then, the homeroom teacher calls Ae Rin for leaving class, causing the call to be disrupted. Hoen immediately tries to turn off the phone, but it's too late. Ha Nul resumes her suspicions of Ae Rin and continues to seek information about her at her old school. At that moment, Ha Nul's mother calls, and she has to return home. It turns out the call is from Ha Nul's father. Her mother has suddenly passed away after working hard and suffering from a long illness that went untreated. Ae Rin and her parents go to pay their respects to Ha Nul's mother, and Ae Rin feels very guilty, staying behind to reassure Ha Nul that she will not talk about it with anyone. Ha Nul directly asks if Ae Rin is the genie, but she still does not admit it. Once again, Ae Rin dreams of a nightmare, her hand in the dream covered in blood and a girl claiming to be a genie screaming at her. Hoen also notices Ha Nul's absence, but since he has promised Ha Nul, Ae Rin does not tell him about her mother's death. After school, Mi Jin and Seihi go to a cafe where they discuss how to bully Ha Nul when she returns to school. The next day Ha Nul comes back to school, but she feels unwell and asks to rest during PE. When she returns to class, Ae Rin realizes she has lost the necklace that Jin Sung had given her before he moved away. Hoen comes to talk to the homeroom teacher. Seihi eavesdrops and runs back to class to spread the news. She even comes to talk to Ae Rin very intimately. Just then, a few girls in the class also speak up and blame Ha Nul for often extorting items from Ae Rin in the past. Mi Jin and Seihi surround Ha Nul's desk and demand to search her, finding her mother's hair clip and playing with it, which infuriates Ha Nul. Mi Jin finds Ae Rin's necklace in Ha Nul's bag and pushes her down. They lift Ha Nul's skirt like how Ha Nul used to do to Ae Rin and threaten her in front of the class. Everyone calls Ha Nul a thief and she cries, but Hoen just looks away and turns his face. At that moment, Ae Rin stops them and pulls Ha Nul outside. Ae Rin asks Hoen why he doesn't intervene in Ha Nul being bullied, and he says he doesn't want to draw attention. Ae Rin says that although Ha Nul has bullied her, how she handles it does not need Mi Jin's intervention, and Ae Rin doesn't like her either. Ae Rin returns to the class and confronts Seihi and Mi Jin, calling out Seihi as the real bully, and the fact that she knows so much about the necklace proves she is the thief, not Ha Nul. At this time, Hoen also steps up to expose her, while Mi Jin pretends to know nothing about it. Ae Rin then asks her how she knows the necklace she finds in Ha Nul's bag is hers. She again plays the victim and blames everything on Seihi. The other girls also blame Seihi. She goes crazy and sprays everyone with a fire extinguisher to vent her anger and then throws the extinguisher, shattering a window. Ae Rin retrieves the hair clip for Ha Nul and puts it in her bag. Ha Nul returns to class and pushes Ae Rin's hand away and is about to leave. At that moment, Ae Rin finally admits that she is Genie. After realizing her misunderstanding of Jin Sung, Ae Rin writes him an apology letter, confessing her feelings and secretly tucks it into a book for him. Jin Sung is deeply touched to receive it just before his debut performance. In the letter, Ae Rin also includes a photo of herself, unedited, as Jin Sung had once asked her for. Back to the present. When Ae Rin faces Han Nul and admits she is Genie, Han Nul becomes furious and confronts her. Ae Rin insists she didn't mean to deceive or approach Han Nul, she genuinely wants to be friends. The two girls return home and cry their eyes out. The next day, Han Nul meets Ho In at the coffee shop he had visited with Ae Rin, and before he can answer her question if he was there with Ae Rin, she tells him they should break up. Han Nul declares she deserves better treatment and leaves. The following day, the atmosphere remains awkward among Ho In, Han Nul, and Ae Rin. Say he is boycotted after the previous day's events, while Mi Jin remains popular among other students as she is still hinting that she's Genie. Mi Jin continues to bully Han Nul under the guise of teaching her a lesson. Seizing the moment, Ae Rin posts on Genie account to announce that someone is impersonating her. The class starts to doubt whether Mi Jin is really Genie, especially since the post goes up while she is scolding Han Nul. Ae Rin smiles triumphantly as Mi Jin is embarrassed and Han Nul avoids trouble. At home, when Ae Rin tries to retreat to her room again, her mom comes in to talk. Ae Rin asks her mom about her sister, but her mom panics and insists that she doesn't have a sister. Ae Rin doesn't believe her and pushes past her mom before running into her room. A flashback shows a young Ae Rin at a playground waiting for her older sister, feeling ignored and walking away upset. Her sister chases after her and is hit by a car. Back in the present, Ae Rin again has the nightmare where she sees her hands covered in blood and a girl on the ground turns her head to look at her. She wakes up and sees herself in the classroom. After the nightmare, Ae Rin has a PE class. During the class, someone secretly takes her phone and accesses her Instagram account. Ae Rin returns to find her phone stolen. It is soon revealed that Mi Jin stole her phone and posted a picture of herself in uniform for the first time on the Genie account, and with that, she clears all the rumors that she isn't Genie. A flashback shows Ho In a session with his psychologist, where he opens up about his trauma related to his father. He describes how his father, a loan shark, took risks by scamming people and invested a lot of money in Ho In. When Ho In disappointed him, his father punished him brutally. One time an incident even made the news. This is also the reason why Ho In often does not show his true personality and emotions, because he does not trust anyone, and the same reason why he remained indifferent to Han Nul and did not intervene when Han Nul was bullied by their classmates, although he felt guilty about it. In class, Ae Rin is furious when she sees that Mi Jin posted a photo using her phone. She demands Mi Jin return the phone, but Mi Jin ignores her and threatens to reveal Ae Rin's secret of creating a fake identity to become famous. Ae Rin is enraged but helpless. Meanwhile, Ho In takes the opportunity to go to the teacher's room and snaps photos of Mi Jin's information. Mi Jin still has Ae Rin's phone and reads all the messages between her and Han Nul, and also discovers messages between Genie and Jin Sung along with a video Jin Sung sent. At home, Ae Rin logs into Instagram from her computer and changes the password of the Genie account. The next day, when Mi Jin tries to log in, she can't access the account anymore. Ae Rin buys a new phone and when she gets home, Ho In texts her to come over for some instant noodles. Ae Rin tells Ho In about what Mi Jin has done, and Ho In asks her what she plans to do next. Ho In informs Ae Rin about the information he has gathered on Mi Jin, indicating that she is very cunning. Ho In found that when Mi Jin was at her old school, she had many photos posted in the school's chat room. However, the person who posted them under the nickname Pluto suddenly disappeared. Ho In reaches out to this person and asks to meet in person. The next day, they meet at a coffee shop. Pluto appears very frightened and begins to share her experiences with Mi Jin. Ho In sees a pattern in Mi Jin's behavior, both in her old school and their one currently, where she always tries to act friendly to get close to her targets, then bullies them once she feels like they do no good to her. Pluto emphasizes that Mi Jin is willing to do anything to get what she wants. Later at night, Mi Jin texts Ae Rin asking for the new passwords for the Genie account. Ae Rin does not give her the password, and the next day, Mi Jin shows up in class and tries to befriend Han Nul. Ae Rin feels outraged by this and wants to talk to Mi Jin privately. It turns out that Mi Jin discovers Ae Rin is Genie after overhearing Ae Rin confess to Han Nul. Mi Jin mocks Ae Rin as ugly and points out that even though Han Nul knows Mi Jin is impersonating Genie, she still happily befriends her. Mi Jin also claims that Jin Sung would be disgusted with Ae Rin if he knew she was behind it. Mi Jin uses all these arguments to try to force Ae Rin to hand over the password, but she refuses. That afternoon, Hoen confronts Mi Jin outside the classroom, asking her to live stream a video on the Genie account during the school festival, and Mi Jin has no choice but to agree. Ae Rin confronts Hoen about it, and he asks her why she is so afraid of Mi Jin. Ae Rin reveals to him that Mi Jin holds a video of Jin Sung sending to Genie, and Ae Rin does not want him to be involved. So she decides to give the password to Mi Jin. Hoen convinces her not to treat herself badly, but Ae Rin has already made her decision. The next day at the festival, Hoen disguises himself as a clown and manages to retrieve Ae Rin's phone from Mi Jin's bag. Mi Jin quickly realizes this and blames Hanul, but Hoen quickly appears and rescues Hanul. He returns the phone to Mi Jin but smashes it in front of her. However, it turns out the video Jin Sung sends to Genie is no longer available, and Mi Jin hires someone to recover the data. Mi Jin approaches Ae Rin and forces her to log into the Genie Instagram account because the time she promised to live stream across the whole school is about to start. As Ae Rin continues to refuse, she sees that Asta, Jin Sung's band, arrives at the school and is surrounded by other female students. Jin Sung spots Ae Rin and approaches her. They go to the restroom to talk. Ae Rin tells him that she's not who he thought she was and returns the necklace he gave her. When she leaves the room, she realizes that Mi Jin has posted all the text messages between Genie and Jin Sung online. The situation becomes chaotic as many people surround Jin Sung, while Ae Rin goes to the stage, intending to reveal the truth about herself. However, Jin Sung plays a video he sent to Genie, which turns out to be just him practicing. When asked about his relationship with Genie, Jin Sung says he talked to Genie because he saw the image of someone he loved in her, all the while looking at Ae Rin, who was about to cry on stage. At that moment, Jin Sung is taken away by his manager, and the fact that he completely ignores Mi Jin once again leads people to doubt that she is the real Genie. They pressure her to livestream, and just then, Ae Rin posts on Instagram declaring that her account had been hacked recently. Criticized, Mi Jin points at Ae Rin, demanding she admit she is Genie, but Ae Rin remains silent. Hanul and Hoen run up to stop her. Suddenly, Sae throws hot water in Mi Jin's face. Afterwards, Ae Rin meets Jin Sung again at a schoolyard, where they confess their feelings and kiss. Meanwhile, Hoen visits Hanul's house to tell her about how he was burned in a house fire in middle school and blames himself, hence his desire to stay hidden. Hanul sympathizes, and they reconcile. Ae Rin returns home and helps her stepfather take her mother to the hospital, confirming her memories of her sister were true. Her mother, coping with the pain, developed amnesia and forgot about the past. Her stepfather emphasizes that despite this, Ae Rin's mother loves her deeply. Ae Rin talks to her mother in the hospital, and her mother apologizes for hiding the painful past from her, fearing Ae Rin would blame herself for her sister's death. It turns out that her sister was also the reason Ae Rin created a more beautiful version of herself. The next day, Ae Rin invites Hanul over and shows her the items she used to transform into Genie. That night, Ae Rin posts her real photo on the Genie account and admits to deceiving everyone. The number of followers quickly decreases, and Ae Rin gradually deletes all her photos. Despite receiving many negative comments and criticisms, Ae Rin is not upset because of the true friendship she made during the journey with Jin Sung, Hoen, and Hanul.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe and like for more videos like this.